Hey, good morning. Welcome to Morning Devotions. Mark chapter 5 today is basically three stories in two, so let's jump in to see what Jesus is doing today. And they came over the other side of the sea into the country of the Gadarenes, and when he had come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who was dwelling among the tombs, and no one could bind him, no, not with chains, because he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces. Neither could any man tame him. And always, day and night, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. But when he saw Jesus afar off, I love this. When he saw Jesus afar off, if we look back here, he was a man with an unclean spirit. But whenever he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshiped him. Not even an unclean spirit can keep you from running to Jesus and worshiping Jesus. And cried with a loud voice, Jesus, let me stop here. Jesus has dominion over the unclean spirits. Jesus has dominion over everything. And his presence, simply his presence, changes the atmosphere. If you want an atmosphere change in your life or in your family, get them in the presence of Jesus, because that changes everything. He ran and worshipped him and cried with a loud voice and said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the Most High God? I adjure thee by God that thou torment me not. For he said unto him, Come out of this man, thou unclean spirit. And he said to him, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. And he besought him much that he would not cast them out of the country. The demons asking Jesus, please don't throw us out of the country. Jesus asked, what's the name? What's your name? He said, my name's Legion, for we are many. Now there was there that night into the mountains a great herd of swine feeding, swines, pigs, and all the devils besought them, saying, send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave, and the unclean spirit went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down the steep hill into the sea, where there was about 2,000, and where they choked into the sea. And they that fed the swine fled, told it to the city and the country, and they went out to see what was done. They came to Jesus and see him that is possessed with the devil, and had the legion sitting and clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. What were they afraid of? Here's a man that they had tried to put chains on. Here was a man they tried to bound, and now all of a sudden he's sitting clothed in his right mind with Jesus. What is there to be afraid of? And they that saw it told how it befell him that possessed with the devil, and also concerning the swine, and they began to pray him to depart out of their coast. The people asked Jesus to leave. And when they came to the ship, why would they ask Jesus to leave after he just performed a miracle? And when they departed out of the coast, when they come to the ship, he that had been possessed with the devil prayed him that he might be with him. Howbeit Jesus suffered him not, and said to him, Go home to thy friends, tell them the great things the Lord has done for you, and hath compassion on you. And he departed and began to publish in the Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him, and all men did marvel. In the quietness that followed the storm, Jesus and his disciples came to the Gadarenes. They had met there by a man who was demon-possessed. When he recognized Jesus, he fell at his feet and worshipped. The demons recognized Jesus. They also recognized his authority as their judge. In Mark, they said their name was Legion. A Roman legion army is approximately 6,000 men. Rather than be consigned to the abyss, the demons pledged permission to enter into about 2,000 swine, and Jesus gave them permission. The man was healed, sitting clothed and in his right mind. The swineherders saw it, told the town. The town asked Jesus to leave. Why would they ask Jesus to leave, and what would they be afraid of? See, here's the thing. Jewish community did not eat pork, but Romans did, and it was a great economy for the Jewish people. He messed up their economy. And you know what they were afraid of? They were afraid if Jesus messed up this part of the economy, if he stays around here, what else is he going to mess up? What else is he going to change about our livelihoods? What else is going to be different because of this man? If this man stays in our town, we're going to have to change our ways. If this man stays in our town, he could mess up our economy even more. If this man staves, what else is he going to heal? How else is he going to disrupt our way of life because we love our way of life more than we love the presence of Jesus? That was the mindset. So they said, you know what, Jesus, you and your disciples get your back in your boat and you can just leave here. So here's a question for you. When Jesus comes into your life and displays his authority, how do you respond? Will you ask Jesus to leave, or will you be okay with what he sends away? What a question. That's a question really only you can answer. Then he shows power over disease and death. And when Jesus was passed over again by ship to the other side, much people gathered unto him, and he was nigh unto the sea. And behold, there cometh one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet, besought him greatly, saying, My little daughter lieth at the point of death. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that she might be healed, and she live. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him and thronged him. And a certain woman, which had an issue of blood for 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing better, but rather grew worse. And when she heard of Jesus, came in the press behind and touched his garment, For she said, If I may but touch his clothes, I shall be whole. And straightway the fountain of blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the plague. And Jesus, immediately knowing in herself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, Who touched my clothes? And the disciples said, seeing the multitude thronging thee, thou sayest, Who touched me? And he looked around to see who had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell before him and told him all the truth. He said, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole from the plague. While he yet spake, there came the ruler of the synagogues, the house certain, which said, Thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou the master any further? As soon as Jesus heard the words that were spoken, she said to the ruler of the synagogue, Be not afraid, only believe. And he suffered no man to follow him, save Peter, James, John, and John, the brother of James. And he cometh to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and seeth the tumult, and then that wept and wailed greatly. And when he came, he said to them, Why do you make this ado and weep? The damsel is not dead, she sleepeth. They laughed him to scorn, but when he had put them all out, he taketh the father and the mother of the damsel, and then they were with him, and entered in where the damsel was laying. He took the damsel by the hand and said to her, Talitha cumi, which is being interpreted, Damsel, I say unto thee, arise. And straightway the damsel arose and walked, and she was at the age of 12 years old. A woman with an issue of blood for 12 years and a 12-year-old daughter. And they arose, and they were astonished with the great astonishment. And he charged them straitly that no man should know it, and commanded that something should be given her to eat. Jesus is approached by a man by the name of Jairus, the daughter of the ruler of the synagogue. His daughter was dying. Asked Jesus to come lay hands on her so that she could live. And on the way to the house, there was this woman with a disease, an issue of blood for 12 years that came behind him. A chronic menstrual disorder, a perpetual issue of blood. Such a condition would be difficult for any woman of any era. But for a Jewish, nothing could be worse. No part of her life was unaffected. Sexually, she could not touch her husband. Maternally, she could not bear children. Domestically, she could not touch anything and was considered unclean. No washing dishes, no sweeping floor. And spiritually, she was not allowed to enter the temple. She was physically exhausted, socially ostracized. She awoke daily in a body that no one wanted. She's down to her last prayer, and on this day, we encounter her, and she's about to pray it. By the time she gets to Jesus, he is surrounded by people. He's on his way to help the daughter of Jairus, the most important man in the community. What are the odds that he will interrupt an urgent mission with a high official to help the likes of her? Very few. But what are the odds that she survives if she doesn't take the chance? Fewer still. So she takes the chance. If I can touch his clothes, she thinks, I can be healed. Risky decision. To touch him, she would have to touch people. If someone recognizes her, hello, rebuke, bye-bye, cure. But what choice does she have? She has no money, no clout, no friends, no solution. All she has is this crazy hunch that Jesus can help her and the high hope that he will. Her part in the healing is very small. All she did was extend her hand through the crowd. If only I can touch him. What's important is not the form of an effort, but the fact of the effort, the fact that she did something. She refused to settle for sickness another day and resolved to make a move. And with that small, courageous gesture, she experienced Jesus' power. God always honors radical, risk-taking faith. She showed it, and she was healed, and he called her daughter. He did not just heal her physically, he healed her emotionally. When was the last time someone showed her a term or gave her a term of affection? He said, daughter, you are healed. Your faith has made you heal. God always honors, and he doesn't just heal, he makes whole, and he made her whole. She touched the hem of his garment. She said within herself, if I can touch, I will be whole. Why his clothes? As a Jewish woman, she very well knew the writings of the prophet Malachi. But to him that filled my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. The Hebrew definition of wings is border or hem. She knew that there was healing in both H-I-M and H-E-M. But Jesus turns about. When he saw her, he said, daughter, be of good comfort. Your faith has made you whole. And the woman was made whole from that hour. If you can't get to H-I-M, H-E-M will do. What does that mean? Give it your best effort to get into the presence of Jesus. Do what you can, and God will do the rest. During this pause in which Jesus was speaking to this woman, the news came from Jairus' house that the daughter had died. Jesus encouraged them, said, don't be afraid, only believe. When he entered the home, he told them that she was not dead, only asleep. They laughed. He kicked them out of the room. Faith and mockery don't mix. Jesus then touches the dead body and commands, my child, get up. And she stood. Jesus then continues to care for her needs, requesting that she have food. Jesus adds another category to his authority over death. And that is Mark chapter 5. But I want to give you like a little profile, something I found very interesting here in study. As one of Jesus's most beloved and privileged leaders, the Apostle Peter saw something astonishing, that things that others didn't get to see. Not even the other 12 had a chance to witness this. This is whenever Jesus takes them into the room with the damsel, the girl who had died. Mark records how Jesus allowed no one to follow him into the home of Jairus, the synagogue ruler of the daughter who had just died of the illness, except Peter and the brother of James and John. For a reason not clearly spelled out in the scripture, Jesus wanted only these three leaders with him when he performed one of his most amazing miracles. No one can see what Peter saw that day without coming away profoundly changed and inspired. Peter had witnessed Jesus casting out demons, perform miracles of healing, and he had heard him teach with God-given authority. But on this remarkable day, Jesus gave Peter the privilege to see how he had power over life and death itself. All who believe in Jesus for their salvation have access to him at any time. But at special times, Jesus specifically calls his leaders, those with a unique call of service to ministry, to see and hear special things they alone have the privilege to witness. It's a special trust with a unique responsibility. When God gives you a word, sometimes others don't see it. When God gives you a word, when God gives you an experience, sometimes others won't see it, hear it, or experience it. But don't doubt your word. Don't doubt what God has done, because that's a word for you. Privileged to see what most others couldn't. So be blessed today. Have a great day, and keep hope alive. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.